Welcome to another episode of The Evolution, the Transformative Podcast, your go-to podcast for unlocking the limitless power of your energy and mindset. I'm Javon, also known as Mr. Raise the Vibes, your personal growth coach dedicated to transforming the way you think, feel, and experience life. If you haven't already, it would mean the world to me if you would please subscribe to this channel and follow us on Instagram at RaiseTheVibe_. So today we're diving into something that holds a lot of people back, all right? So chances are if you're watching this at one point or another in your life, right, you've had the courage to do something difficult. So you know deep down that you need to do a little bit more. You need to push yourself a little bit harder. You need to go beyond where you are now. And fear is crippling and it has you stuck. This episode is for you. But before we get into that, let's start off with our first segment, which is the vibe check. All right. The vibe check, if you don't know, is an opportunity to check in with my Raise the Vibe family. Okay, this is something that I do with the people that I work with and those that are in my inner circle. And it's really an opportunity to really share how I'm doing, right? Not just, hey, how are you? I'm good. No, this is more of an in-depth explanation on what's actually going on with me physically, emotionally, mentally. If you haven't done a vibe check, I strongly encourage you to adopt that, right? Do it with those people close to you, people that you care about, whether it's your roommate, your parents, your siblings, your significant other. It's an opportunity to really get a deep answer into how they're actually doing. So for me, physically, I'm feeling great. Been going to the gym pretty consistently. This is probably the most consistent I've been. Maybe if it's not the longest streak, it's definitely the second longest streak of going to the gym consecutively day after day, not missing, that I've had in a long time. I haven't missed a workout since the year started. Granted, it's only the beginning of February, but I've been doing pretty good. I mean, even in December, I was going strong. Might have missed one day, but so physically, I'm feeling really good. My energy is high. Again, my days are pretty long, so sometimes that starts to have an impact. But at this current moment, physically, I feel phenomenal, right? Emotionally, I'm feeling good as well. I've just really been communicating what I'm going through and how I'm feeling with the people that are close to me. So there's really nothing that is weighing on me right now for me personally. Now, that's not always the case. Some days are better than others. But just specifically talking about today, really good. Headspace is in a great place right now. I'm thinking clearly. There's really nothing that is going on that is impacting me emotionally. So I don't take that for granted. Anytime I'm able to experience a day that feels uninterrupted or that isn't being controlled or dictated by my emotions, I think it's a good day. So emotionally, I'm in a really good place right now, honestly. And mentally, I'm good too. Like it's been a really good day so far. I really don't have much negative that's been happening. Again, I'm just super grateful. I'm super blessed just for the people that I have in my life and the opportunities that come my way. And I think I choose to focus on all the good things that are going on in life rather than all the negative, all the distractions, everything that isn't necessarily going my way. I choose not to focus on it. And with that intentional decision, it doesn't have an impact on me like it used to. So I think just with my approach and my outlook, my perspective on life, that really contributes as to why I feel the way I do, emotionally and mentally. Physically, that's really just a byproduct of how you treat your body, what you're eating, how much you're moving, your activity level. A lot of that plays a role into how you're feeling physically, but emotionally and mentally, I think that is really a result of and your perspective and how you're looking at life, and just with my mindset and the way I choose to attack each day and respond to different situations. I'm in a really, 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 really good place, emotionally and mentally. So that's my quick update for you guys for my vibe check. Again, if you haven't done one before, call your best friend, call your parents, call your sibling, call someone that you care about and ask them how they're doing. And maybe it'll take 5 minutes, maybe it'll take 10, maybe it'll take 30 minutes, but that is a really good opportunity to explore the depths of somebody else, right? And giving them that space to really communicate to you how they're actually doing and what's actually going on in their life, okay? But that concludes the vibe check, right? So, as I mentioned, there are difficult things that we constantly have to go through in life, right? There are these new tasks that we have to complete. There are these new steps that we have to take. And a lot of times it can be extremely intimidating or overwhelming. And I want to talk to you guys about some of the most common types of fears that affect people across different cultures, okay? So this isn't specific to me. This isn't specific to my family. This isn't specific to my culture, right? These are just some of the most popular, most common fears that really impact people all over the world, right? So the first one is the fear of failure, okay? Let's call it what it is, right? I know it, you know it. People fear making mistakes, disappointing others, not being good enough. That is one of the worst feelings ever, right? When you know that you messed up and you let somebody down and you just have that feeling that you're not good enough, that's enough to make you not even try. I know for me personally, just from my experience, there's been many, many, many things that I haven't done in life just out of the fear of failure, okay? So I know that I've struggled with that, and that has prevented me from even trying different things. So I know, and if you're being honest with yourself, right, really, really being honest with yourself, at one point in our lives, we've all struggled with that, right? The next one is the fear of rejection. And listen, man, that's me to a T. When I tell you in my younger days, I struggled so much when I had to try to go talk to women because, listen, no one wants to get turned down. Nobody wants to get dubbed. Nobody wants to not be accepted. Really wants to feel like somebody else doesn't see the value in them. And that fear of rejection really prevents people from doing things, taking advantage of opportunities, having conversations. I got a buddy of mine, listen, see him in the gym every day, single guy. He's just looking for love. Like, a good guy, but he will not talk to a female in a time where it's appropriate, okay? Now, I know the gym might not be the best place to talk to girls, to pick up girls, but if you really think about it, where are you really meeting people in life, right? You got to think about the places that you visit frequently. For me, I go to work, I go to the gym, I go home. So every once in a while, I might switch up, go to the library, the bookstore, a little cafe, but consistently every single day, you can find me at work, you can find me at the gym, and you can find me at home. Now, throughout the week, I might hit the bookstore, might hit the grocery store. They might run an errand here and there. But where are you given the opportunity to interact and engage with people? And if you're someone that's trying to date, you really have to look at your environment and what environments are you in. So for him, he goes to the gym a lot, and that's where he spends the majority of his time. So he goes to the gym, he goes home, he goes to work. So if he's looking to try to court a female, he's going to try for at the gym. And I personally think that's okay. I think there's an appropriate way to make that approach. I think that not everybody wants to be disturbed or spoken to while they're at the gym. I respect that, but I also think that if you're somebody that's interested in dating and you want to try to court somebody, and the only place you see this person that you find attractive or that you're interested in is the gym, listen, go for it. But my brother will not go for it. He is afraid of rejection. And again, we've all been there before. There's so many times we haven't done things just out of fear of rejection, or we didn't even apply for positions because we're afraid of rejection, right? That's enough to paralyze anybody, all right? The third most common one is the fear of the unknown, all right? Uncertainty of what's next makes people feel extremely stuck in life. So, for example, right? Staying in an unfulfilling job or relationship because you're afraid of what will happen if you leave. Now, the relationship part of it, those people that have been in toxic relationships, some of them stay in them for that fear of, they have that sense of dependency there, and they might not necessarily know or be comfortable leaving this situation, not necessarily knowing what's on the other side of it. Am I going to get somebody worse? Am I going to get somebody else ever again? Who knows? But the fear of the unknown will keep people in some situations that they shouldn't be in. The same with work, right? You might hate your job, but the way the job market currently is, you don't know if you'll get another job. So sometimes people will stick it out through those tough situations just because of the fear of not necessarily knowing when that next opportunity is going to come. The unknown is super scary. I know for myself, it's one of those things where you can't predict the future, right? You might be able to have an idea of it, but it is impossible for anybody to predict the future. So if you're somebody that really struggles with taking action because you're unaware of what's to come, I completely understand that. It's extremely common, so you're not alone, right? The other one that I know a lot of people struggle with, and I saw this in college, is a fear of public speaking. Speaking in front of others is one of the most common social fears. Having to go up in front of a classroom and do a presentation, or we can even take it back as early as elementary school or middle school when the teacher calls on you to read a paragraph of the reading for the day. I know people that did not budge. They straight up walked out of class because they did not want to be put on the spot. So speaking publicly, that's intimidating, because now it's bad enough if you didn't make a mistake, but now everybody know you made a mistake, right? It's one of those things where you don't want to be judged. You might have a stutter. You might not be able to pronounce every word, and that's enough to really make somebody not even want to try anymore, because it's tough, man. People are mean, and you never know how it's going to be received. So I get it. Listen, public speaking was one of those things that paralyzes a lot of people. That one, I don't know why, but I've never been afraid of speaking publicly. I'd always raise my hand first, and whenever the teacher said, I need a volunteer, I'm going to call on somebody, my hand always went up. I guess I just looked at it as I'd rather get it out of the way on my own rather than being told I have to do it when I don't want to. So it's one of those things where it's like I attack it head on just to get it out the way. But I also like to go first. And my thing is, if I go first and I mess up, I know somebody else is going to go after me, and they might mess up, so people are going to forget about my mess up first. I'd rather mess up first than mess up last. So for me, when it came to public speaking or doing any type of presentation, I was always the first one to go, just because I wanted to get it out the way. No need to just sit there in the fear and feel like it's not going anywhere, right? The enemy of fear is time, because now you just have some time to sit in it and create all of these made-up scenarios that probably won't even happen, right? Some of these fears are irrational. And when I say irrational, it's never happened to you. You've never experienced it, but your fear of this situation or this outcome that you've never experienced, but that's what's stopping you from from doing something. That's a rational fear, right? A rational fear is something that you've done something, you had an adverse experience because of that action that you took. Now you associate the outcome with the action that you took. That makes sense, right? So, for example, right, there are people that have never been rejected before in their life. For example, right? Let's say if there's a female out there, she's never been rejected by a guy before in her life. So, but she refuses to go ask a guy out because she's afraid of being rejected. To me, that's an irrational fear. You've never been rejected before. So what are you afraid of? You're afraid of something that has never happened to you. I'd say that's irrational, right? But yet again, there's this other guy friend of mine. He's terrified of going to talk to girls because he's been rejected many, many times, and nobody wants to be rejected. So for me, that's a rational fear. You've had the negative experience when you've taken that action, so it makes sense for you to fear that. Again, that's not the case for everybody, but so difference between irrational fears and rational fears. That's how I like to look at it. But the fear of public speaking is definitely one of the ones that I feel like a lot of people definitely struggle with. All right, and the fifth most common fear is the fear of death. And it's one of those things like, is it really the fear of death, or is it the fear of the unknown, right? Because if you know how you're going to die, does it provide you with that sense of comfort? I don't know, right? It's different for everybody. Is it, if you know when you're going to die, does it provide you with more a sense of comfort? Again, I don't know. It's different for everybody. But the fear of death came as such a surprise to me because it's inevitable. Nobody's going to live forever. We're all going to die. But the fear of mortality or what happens after life is maybe another good thing, right? Maybe people are fearing more what happens after you die, and that's why that is the fifth most common fear. But it's an inevitable part about life, right? And I always have to refer back to my faith. We living on borrowed time, right? Our time here on this earth, on this planet, in this world is temporary. So I've accepted the fact that I'm going to leave this earth one day. And what happens to me in the afterlife is going to be a direct reflection of how I live my life on earth. So as far as being afraid of death, it's not something that at this point in my life I am afraid of. Because again, once you find your religion and your faith, and it's no longer in man, you start to understand that you're supposed to live a certain way, and the Bible tells you exactly how to live. So for me, my fear of death is non-existent. But again, everybody's different, right? Folks that might be concerned about what happens after life, again, I encourage everybody to read the Bible, right? Be interested in faith. Be curious about what that entails, what that means. But again, everyone's going to kind of explore things at their own pace, at their own time. Sometimes we do it on our own. Sometimes we're forced to, because life puts us in certain situations where we have no choice but to call on a more powerful force than man. And in those situations, in those times, it is extremely humbling. But at the end of the day, you do get a close relationship with God, which is all he wants, is to have a relationship with all his children. But yeah, so the fear of death is the fifth most common. So I think how we all internalize these fears, how they manifest in our lives, and what they look like to us really depends on the story that we tell ourselves, right? What is the story that you tell yourself about this thing that you fear? Or is it about going for that job? What story you're telling yourself about going for that job? Or whether it's talking to that person. What is the story you tell yourself about talking to that person? Or going skydiving, right? What's the story that you tell yourself about going skydiving? The story that you tell yourself is the reason why that fear exists, right? Sometimes it's rational. You're speaking from experience. Sometimes it's irrational. You're speaking from stories you heard that may or may not have been fabricated. So it's everything different. But the truth is, we've all been there before, right? Right? At one point, again, as early as elementary school, your first, or pre-K, your first day of school. To this point, you've been with your parents or someone you've known every day of your life. You were never left alone. You didn't really have to make any decisions for yourself. Everybody was taking care of you. And now, time for you to go to school. Your parents are just dropping you off to this building you've maybe been to once with a room full of strangers, people you've never seen before. Like, you are scared for your life. But guess what? We all went through it. We all got through our first day of school, our first week of school, our first month of school. And it got to the point where we couldn't wait to go to school, to go see our friends, to go see our favorite teachers. So there were times in our lives where we were scared. We were terrified. We weren't sure if we'd be able to do it, right? Or your first time walking home from school, again, that's one of those frightening instances of where, again, you have no idea what's going to happen. But what's the story that you're telling yourself? Your first time driving, again, what's the story you're telling yourself? You feel like you're a good driver. You feel like there's crazy drivers that are going to hit you. You feel like you're going to hit somebody. Again, it's all about the story that you tell yourself. But the common theme here is that we've all been petrified. We've all been scared for our life, but we did it anyways. We overcame it, right? And the thing I want to highlight, make sure that everyone is aware of, is that you already have the strength, right? Throughout our lives, we've all faced moments that required us to dig a little bit deeper, push past our fears, and find the inner strength, okay? Now, I'm just going to share with you some common examples of times when you have to be strong and overcome the fears, right? Like I said, first day of school is the first one that comes to mind. Everybody's had a first day of school that they had to go through, that they had to get through. Leaving your parents for the first time and stepping into the unknown is terrifying, but we've all done it. We had the strength. It was in us the entire time. We were scared, but we were able to get through, and we did get through, right? Learning to ride a bike, again, terrifying. You've been riding on a tricycle your entire life. You were out there having fun with your helmet on and your elbow pads, just pedaling away carelessly. But now you got to try to balance and pedal. Ooh, that's scary. But again, the fear of falling is terrifying, right? Nobody wants to get hurt. Even though you got on your helmet and your elbow pads and your equipment, it's still scary. Falling and potentially hurting yourself is scary. But we all push through those tough times and we gain confidence as we do it, and eventually we overcome it, right? Speaking in front of the class, there's been team projects I'm sure we've all been a part of where you didn't have a choice but to participate. If you didn't participate, it was going to negatively impact your grade. Now, is your fear of talking going to prevent you from passing a class? I sure hope not. I sure hope that's not the case. But again, that first time talking in front of a class, you had to overcome those nerves and present in front of your peers. Trying out for a team, whether it's for a dance team, a cheer team, a football team, a basketball team. It's intimidating, right? You don't want to mess up. This is something that you want, right? You are possibly putting yourself in a position to face rejection, but you go through it anyways, because guess what? If you don't try, you never get it, okay? That fear can't stop you from going for what you want, because the thing that is in between You and what you want is that fear. Now, sometimes you just got to kick that fear down and go for it to get it. Or maybe you try to kick that fear down and there's nothing there on the other side. You get nothing. But you would never know unless you overcome it, okay? Standing up to a bully or peer pressure, right? There's been times in all of our lives where there were people that we were close with that were encouraging us to do something that we didn't want to do. But we had to have the courage to say no. You had to defend yourself. You had to stand up for yourself. You have to speak up for yourself. These are instances where you had to be strong. From your adolescence, we've been strong our entire lives. And sometimes we forget that. We tend to live life and go throughout our days as if we're not strong, not realizing that we've been strong our entire life. It's been in us our entire life. We've had to use our internal strength to push past our fears every day of our life. Even when you're young in adulthood, going to college, leaving home for the first time. Some of us have lived with our families. Mom and dad were there for our whole life. But when you leave for the first time, that's tough. You're leaving behind familiar faces to step into your independence, step into the unknown. Going on a first date, again, terrifying. You never know who it is that you're going out with or what's going to happen or how it's going to be, whether the food's going to be good, what's the parking like, what's your date going to be like, what's the conversation going to be like, all of these unknowns. But you go on that first date. You might have hated it, but guess what? You did it, right? Interviewing for a job. Oh my, this is probably the most common one that those serial job hoppers, they've got plenty of experience interviewing for jobs. But again, after a while, the more and more you do it, the more comfortable it gets and you stop being afraid of it. But interviewing for your first job is one of the most nerve-wracking experiences because you don't know what questions they're going to ask you. You don't know what biases they may have about you. You don't know anything, right? You might know the job a little bit, but as far as what this interview is going to be like, you have no idea. And this is something you want, right? You're interviewing for a job that you want. That job's on the other side of this interview, but you're afraid. Sometimes it can get the best of you, but you've overcome it before, and you'll continue to overcome it. Now, when it comes to how to channel your inner strength, because again, it's been in us our entire life. We've channeled it time and time and time again, but maybe we forget. Maybe we don't realize how strong we actually are. How do you channel your inner strength, right? Well, now that you know you have that ability, now we got to talk about how to use it moving forward. So I just want to leave you with some practical tips for overcoming your fear and taking action, okay? First thing you got to do is change the story you tell yourself, all right? It starts with that. The story that you tell yourself is the reason why you're fearful to begin with. Make sure you change that story. Change the narrative. Because guess what? Nothing happened. It did not happen yet. What you're afraid of has not happened yet. And it may never happen. So you need to change the story that you tell yourself so that you know that it is possible, that what you want is obtainable. It's just on the other side, right? It's not, I can't do this. It's, I haven't done it yet. Emphasis on the yet. It's possible. But you need to change the story you're telling yourself, right? Start small, but start now. Don't wait any longer. Because again, the biggest asset to fear is time. Fear loves time. Because the more time you have and you sit with that fear, the greater that fear grows. And it grows and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you take action the minute you feel fearful, it never gets any bigger and you overcome the fear, right? So start small. Baby steps. You don't got to dive all the way in, but baby steps. Start small, but start now. Take one step and you'll see that you'll get over your fear because you're not giving it time to grow and to manifest into this bigger than life thing that's not even real. All right. Another thing you could do is visualize the other side of fear. Right? Close your eyes and really think about it. Visualize it. Visualize everything that you want, everything that you desire. That's right beyond the fear that you currently have. Once you can see it and you visualize yourself getting over that fear and obtaining what it is that you see, might be a little bit easier for you to take that action, right? Visualize the fear. What happens if you succeed? What happens if you obtain it? What does your life look like? Right? When you make it real like that through visualization, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get over your fear. Another thing you can do is lean on your support system, right? If you're fortunate enough to have people in your life that believe in you, that support you, lean on them. Give them the opportunity to be a good friend. Who can encourage you? Who can be there for you? Who can tell you that, hey, you are being irrational, or hey, that's nothing. You've overcome worse than that. Or hey, listen, you've been strong your whole life, right? Who do you have in your life that can encourage you, right? So, imagine your future self thanking you for having the courage to start today. Because guess what? If you don't start, you'll never get there. You need to take action. The sooner you take action, the sooner you'll get what you want, right? The sooner you overcome your fears, the sooner you'll be able to be a lot closer to obtaining what it is that you want. Because fear is just a roadblock. It's a little speed bump in the road, right? It's nothing you can't get over. A lot of different ways you can get over it. A lot of different ways that you have showed and demonstrated to yourself that you are strong enough to get over this, that you can get over this. But again, it starts with changing that story and doing the little things and taking the action now, all right? So I do have a challenge for you. I want you to do something difficult this week, right? Do something that scares you. Overcome a fear. Doesn't have to be your biggest fear. Maybe you're afraid of talking to strangers. Just say hello to somebody. One word. And if you're okay with saying one word, maybe ask a question after you say hello. If you're afraid of talking to somebody, right? Maybe you're afraid of speaking up to your boss. Well, maybe ask your boss a question that they might have a difficult time answering. Put it on them, right? Challenge yourself this week. Do something that you're afraid of. Do something that fears you. So, as I wrap this up, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment, leave a like. Let us know. Let us know what you think. Because it's going to keep us going, and we're going to continue to build momentum. So if you haven't already, make sure you head over to our website, raisethevibesllc.com. Join the community. It is completely free, and it is where growth happens. Join a community of like-minded individuals that are dedicated and committed to evolving and to be able to withstand life's transitions, right? So this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, someone that might need a little extra push, okay? So stay focused, stay positive, and keep evolving. I'm Javon, Mr. Raise the Vibes, signing off, and I will see you on the next episode.